Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to present my report titled International Local Institutions and the Good Governance Paradigm, a Dialectical Relationship. Now, the last few years has seen an explosion of interest in oil and gas in Lebanon. This is quite appropriate after the first presentation by Cynthia. Very good. Notably, as the evidence of Eastern Mediterranean oil and gas reserves has mounted, and other countries in the region have begun to develop their capacity to extract the resource. The politicking surrounding the issue in Lebanon itself is complex and reflects the general political deadlock that has characterised the country in a range of issues, and is largely focused around a number of key presidential decrees necessary for the development of the sector, which haven't been ratified by Parliament. Alongside the political controversies that have taken place within Lebanon, civil society organisations are heavily engaged with the topic. Multiple think tanks, NGOs, political activists, etc. are engaging with the issue and advocating for good governance in the sector should the Lebanese government allow its development to go ahead. The interest is based on the perception that the huge revenues that usually flow into a country from oil and gas revenues will have an enormous transformative impact on Lebanon. This transformative impact is by and large presented as both an opportunity but just as frequently as a huge risk. The fear of the risks associated with massive revenues in the hands of the Lebanese political elite has even led some to express relief at the Lebanese government's inability to agree on how the sector's development should proceed. Lebanese research institutions, NGOs and individuals have received huge support in turn from international organisations and foreign states to build their capacity to understand and advocate for good policies, to push for good governance. Looking at the debate that is occurring over oil in Lebanon, this project explores the relationship between institutions who seek to promote and advocate good governance, both internally and from outside. The conclusions I have drawn is that the good governance debate is a constantly evolving site of controversy, discourse and negotiation between international, local, Western and Southern, Western and Southern, you say North and South, really don't need my mistake. First world and third world actors. Local actors are not completely subservient to international paradigms, despite the importance of Western-based organisations in setting the agenda and providing the majority of funding for local organisations to act. In some cases, problematic generic international platforms are applied to local contexts and without recognising the nuances within them. Yet my research has shown that rather than a vertical relationship of power between global and local organisations, there exists a discourse between them, which just as often sees a horizontal effect, whereby local organisations are able to push back and argue the specificities of local contexts and therefore influence the policies of global ones. My approach has been inspired by the work of Timothy Mitchell, namely his use of non-human agents to draw insightful and refreshing conclusions about historical processes. His book, Carbon Democracy, maps the development of our use of this form of carbon, and in doing so places oil companies at the heart of 20th century history, as well as placing them firmly at the centres of political and environmental hazards we are currently facing. I highly recommend it if none of you have read it. Most interesting are his conclusions about the anti-democratic nature of oil production. Coal production requires a working class to exist, which through the development of unions was a catalyst for democratic change in welfare states. Oil, on the other hand, has no such dependence on a large working class, and it is controlled by an elite which excelled at restricting supply to maximise profits. Mitchell's ability to, through oil, trace the connections that bound corporate power and the geopolitical interests of US-based elites has provided a model for my approach to oil, though it's much more specific, the good governance paradigm in Lebanon. As oil hasn't yet been extracted, nor has it effectively been engaged with by the Lebanese government, the vast majority of activity has been through a range of civil society groups, media organisations, political parties and NGOs both within and without of the country. The subject of oil has become a medium through which the good governance paradigm is being communicated to and within Lebanon, and a site of controversy over the interpretation of good governance itself between local and global actors. This in turn connected Lebanon with the highly contested experience of over half a century of development theory and practice that has occurred within the third world. The obsession of good governance in the resource sector is based on what are perceived as the lessons of the 20th century, with third world countries with huge resources tending to see no significant developmental gains, and conversely have often seen a number of negative outcomes from a heavy dependence on extractive industries revenue, such as heightened corruption, conflict and economic decline, to mention a few. This has seen the rise of a number of influential international organisations, or as a reaction to this, there has been a rise of a number of influential international organisations, one of which is the Natural Resource Government Institute, another is Publish What You Pay, as well as international regimes such as the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. These organisations, alongside others, are heavily engaged with both government and civil society organisations in countries such as Lebanon. Work on understanding the effectiveness of resource governance has been undertaken by a range of academics. For example, Andreas Acosta, in his 2013 article on the effectiveness of transparency initiatives, argues that there is a slight disconnect, if not an overt disconnect, between the emphasis on transparency in extractive industries' good governance organisations and the actual outcomes that this good transparency produces. The good governance paradigm is by no means limited to oil and gas and is highly contested, one of the most infamous cases being the IMF structural adjustment programs in Eastern Europe after the end of the Cold War and the negative impact this subsequently had on those local economies. This is the framework within which I initially approached the relationship between local and international actors on the issue in Lebanon, with my initial hypothesis being that the international organisations are able to impose their understanding of good governance on local institutions and settings due to the power they hold as donors and experts. This initial hypothesis has been challenged by the initial findings of my research. My current research on the subject is centred on 2 interviews, participant observation as an oil and gas conference and desk-based research assessing research publications from organisations working within and without of Lebanon on this issue. The most interesting results came from the 2 interviews. The first is the director of a Lebanese think tank specialising in a range of governance issues, one of which is oil and gas. The second was a journalist at a well-known investigative journalist magazine in Lebanon, as well as a founding member of a Lebanese NGO specifically focused on oil and gas governance. As my initial focus, if not my subject, has changed significantly, or at least has become much more refined since these interviews took place, a number of the questions I asked have become less relevant. The most interesting responses, however, were centred around 3 themes or question subsets. How and why did you begin to engage in the oil and gas issue? Is the oil and gas issue for you a gateway to tackle wider governance problems in Lebanon? And do you believe, most importantly, do you believe the good governance agendas of organisations such as the ones I mentioned earlier to be aligned with Lebanon's specific needs? The answers to the first questions were on one level, very similar for both respondents. Both respondents perceived the potential impact of oil and gas revenues on Lebanon as potentially beneficial but also risky. The difference between them was the perception of risk, with the journalist being far more optimistic and the director of the research institution, while the director of the research institution was a little bit more pessimistic. The director of the research institution, more than the journalist, perceived the issue as a gateway to tackling wider governance issues in 2 respects. Firstly, the main risks associated with large oil and gas revenues pertain to already understood problems with corruption and clientelism within the Lebanese political system. Secondly, by advocating for good governance on this issue successfully, this could provide a model that the organisation and civil society in general could apply to other issues. Now, the most interesting and relevant results, in my opinion, came from the answers to the final question, and this in turn helped to refine significantly my research focus, which allowed me to take some initial tentative, and I must stress tentative, findings. The director of the research organisation stated that local organisations had to be indeed very careful when dealing with international ones when presented with generic and sometimes dogmatic agendas on what good governance is. The EITI, the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, for instance, which is a global set of principles to which commodity-producing governments sign up to as a commitment to transparency in the industry, is fundamentally a good initiative, but one that can be taken advantage of by local governments as a form of whitewash. So the EITI basically means governments sign up to it, they look good, they get kind of a stamp of approval, and then they have to publish many of the documents and accounts that go between them and companies. Now the problem is this usually involves huge amounts of information but doesn't really go in deep behind where these accounts came from. So there can still be a huge amount of governance issues hidden, hence the whitewash. Governments can use it to gain legitimacy with the support of international NGOs, but without implementing any meaningful reforms or accountability processes. However, the director of the research institution stated that in his experience, if local organisations have a strong strategic vision, partnerships with international institutions can be extremely beneficial for both parties, even if their perspectives on how good governance should be applied differ. His experience working with the Natural Resource Governance Institute was that the international partner was able to accept local demands and push back on a number of issues. This has even seen the international partner internalise some of these lessons and reapply them in its projects throughout the world, the Lebanese partner being merely its partner in the Middle East and has many other regional hubs in all other areas of the world or developing areas of the world. While this doesn't disprove my initial theory about the relationship between local and international organisations, with both interviewees recognising that this is the case in many situations, with one of the interviews saying many local partners take what they can get and adopt the agenda. Now this is often the case of NGOs, especially ones that are desperate for funding. They're very, very ready to compromise on what their vision is in order to get the funding to keep the organisation going. It does show that local institutions, however, that local institutions are capable of maintaining significant agency and are able to customise global lessons in light of local knowledge. Now, another thing I haven't been able to explore is that given that these global organisations work, and I'd like to, if I wanted to take this project any further, is given that these global organisations work in many different areas, I'd like to explore how the dialogue between the local and the global in turn is then communicated to other areas of the world, because of course the local knowledge in Lebanon would in turn become global knowledge which is applied, and then how those dynamics work. Anyway, a major challenge to this research, ironically, has been my previous experience and knowledge of the oil and gas governance issue in Lebanon and the world. As you all know, I've had a bit of experience working in the sector. This had major benefits, namely a strong knowledge base on the issue and built networks which I could then utilise for my research. The problem, however, is due to the fact I was previously invested in this issue and bringing to the research a whole range of preconceptions and assumptions, it became quite difficult to locate and follow the controversies, associations and actants in the flat manner advocated in Latour's self-described toolkit, Reassembling the Social. I found my research ideas to be too broad and heavily influenced by pre-existing ones. That made it somewhat difficult to approach the issue in the way I was seeking to, that is to locate a point, an entry point, but also to allow the research to guide me into new exciting areas, not vice versa. Now I felt this placed me in the opposite position to many of you in this class, and as I watched your research develop, I felt in a sense a slight envy how you were able to kind of just pick up the sails and the wind of the research and just go with it, often in quite new and exciting places, while I was trying to do the opposite. My research involved drawing backwards from overly abstract initial ideas and engaging with more defined and controllable research questions. This eventually worked, but was made more difficult by my prior level of knowledge, connections, and investment in the field. Now, my project's initial and potential findings would make a strong contribution, I believe, to policy and general knowledge from its illumination of the complexity of local global relationships between NGOs in this good governance sector. Yet risks exist in this relationship. Yes, risks do exist in this relationship, but they cannot be described as the norm. So you have to be very careful of approaching it and applying comprehensive theories about how these things work. Theoretically, this is interesting, paints a more complex picture of the relations that have occurred than many would like to believe, elaborating both the strengths of local agency and the potential dominating effects of global governance regimes. Is that my time's up?
Yeah.
Good, brilliant.
Thank you.